mode and unmanaged mode, right? So we have also deployed an application via admin console. So today we will start discussing on deployments. Deployments in the sense the types of applications, what are the deployment units that are deployable on WebSphere. So to start with, let us understand how can we define a deployment. Deployment means installing and configuring applications so that they can run on application servers. So as we are working with Java-based applications and Java-based application servers, so we are going to install and configure Java-based applications to host on application servers. So this includes both like packaging and runtime binding to the server environment. So packaging actually we don't do like EAR, WAR, JAR, HAL, RAR. We don't do this packaging, but yes, sometimes it may require if in some situations we will discuss that later. So runtime binding to the server environment. So when you install your application, so it will bind with the server environment and utilize all the server's key features and resources in order to run and serve the requests, right? So what are the application units or deployable units in WebSphere? So WebSphere supports these Java Enterprise Edition standard units. So you can deploy Enterprise Archive, which is EAR format. And this application is full enterprise application. It contains multiple WAR files, JAR files, and RAR files. So let us see what is a WAR file. WAR is web application in WAR format, and it is a collection of JSPs, servlets, and it may also contain static content like HTMLs or you know um, images, text, hyperlinks, etc. There are I mean multiple things are there. So that is static content. So static web applications are different, dynamic web applications are different. So if you want to understand more details about web application types, then check our YouTube channel. In that, it is explained what is the difference between a static web application and dynamic web application. All right. So jar files actually these are the EJB modules. What is EJB? It is Enterprise Java Beans. And there is also MDB, Message Driven Beans. So these are stateful beans. Um, this is a part of Java Enterprise Edition used by development teams to develop enterprise applications, enterprise modules, mostly the business critical and complicated logic, right? So that is created and developed using EJBs and MDBs, mostly in the e-commerce websites, banking and financial websites, where real-time data is crucial, right? So EJBs, MDBs, and supporting classes, all these are packaged in jar format. And what is a RAR? It is a resource adapter. Basically, it is a configuration file and it contains JCA connectors for integrating with external systems, actually external information systems, like, you know, uh, can integrate with SAP or CRM or CBIL mainframes, whatever. the other external information systems. So this is an adapter, resource adapter. So basically, these all are can be deployed separately, or if you are deploying an enterprise application, it contains these all things, var, jar, and rar. So an enterprise application contains multiple web applications inside it, and it may contain one or more EJB modules for business logic, and it may contain a resource adapter that integrates with external information systems. So EAR is the most common for enterprise deployments because it packages everything in one archive, that is EAR, right? So if you take an example, Amazon, so this is an enterprise application. How can I tell? If I click on mobiles, it takes me to mobile phones application. And if I click on new releases, it takes me to another application. The same goes with Axis Bank. If I open Axis Bank, these all are multiple products, in the sense multiple applications. If I click on accounts, it takes me to retail accounts application. If I click on loans, it takes me to loans application. So these all are multiple web applications within this domain. So this is enterprise application. And internally, you may have a savings account and you might have taken a loan. So monthly EMIs are directly deducted from your salary. So that entire operations, that complete logic is written using EJB. So the core business logic is developed using enterprise Java beans and message-driven beans. So these are the different applications and deployable units on WebSphere Application Server, right? So what are the deployment methods available in WebSphere? You can deploy applications using admin console, web-based interface for manual deployment, and WS admin. It is a command line interface. Command line automation using Jython or Jackal. So these two are scripting languages that is used by WS admin scripting tool. All right. So you can also use Jython or Python used alongside with WS admin for advanced automation. So if you are doing automation and you want reusable script, and you want to integrate with DevOps CI/CD pipeline and trigger the scripts from the remote without any manual intervention. So you can design the scripts using Python or Jython integrated with WS admin, right? So these are the different methods of deployment. You can also use few um, deployment tools such as UCD, which is Urban Code Squad. So it is a IBM tool where you can map your servers with the applications. So this Urban Code Deploy contains contains a repository where it stores your uh, applications, and you will just map the backend application servers, and it will be deployed. So these are automation tools. UCD is one of the tools. You can also use different pipelines, DevOps pipelines, to directly deploy applications. And for all those, you need to write Python or Jython scripts. And to understand application formats, let us take enterprise archive. So if you extract EAR application, basically it contains meta INF. So this meta INF, it contains application.xml, which is a deployment descriptor for enterprise archive file. And enterprise archive, as we have seen here, it contains one or more WAR files, jar files, and RAR files. So meta INF, it contains application.xml deployment descriptor. And usually web applications, which are WAR files, web modules, we call it, these contain web.xml under web.inf. And this is a deployment descriptor for web archives. And there is a EJB module in jar format. So this EJB module has a EJB deployment descriptor under meta-inf, which is EJB-jar.xml. And finally, you can also package the shared library in the jar format. So what is a shared library? If your application, this enterprise application, it contains multiple WARs and jars, right? So if there is any common code, application code, or common libraries or classes that is used across, replicated in multiple WAR files and jar files. So those types of, repeated libraries can be packaged separately as a shared library so that each application, either WAR or jar, can utilize the shared library, the code that is available in the shared library. All right. So what is the structure of EAR application? The main deployment descriptor for enterprise application is application.xml, and it contains how the deployment works. It contains the definition and the references of other web modules and EJB modules in application.xml. And each WAR file contains web.xml deployment descriptor. This one contains the URI mappings, the servlet mappings, and other, you can also add session related information and whatever inside web.xml. So you will not write or design these one, but the developer does. And the EJB, it contains the EJB jar.xml. So let us see one example. I have a supermarket application, and under meta-inf, there is manifest. So it does not contain anything, no deployment descriptor. Why? Because this is a web application. So if inside a web application, if you are dealing with a web application, you should check for a deployment descriptor under web-inf. If I open web-inf, you can see the servlets and the servlet class. So this servlet, where is the mapping, URI mapping? Yeah. So URI mapping is not here. URL pattern. URL pattern. So in the URL, if this particular text is found, then new user servlet name will be invoked. And this servlet is mapped with this particular servlet class. So I'm requesting for this resource, new user login page, and your application contains this web.xml that defines all the URI patterns and servlet mappings along with servlet classes. So I'm requesting on with my in my URL to get me a resource called new user login. And once this request is hit to the server, this text or string is extracted and fetched from the web.xml. So once it finds the match new user, so with this URL pattern, this is mapped servlet name. So now for this servlet name, which servlet class should be uh, executed or processed? Again, here it is mentioned. New user, servlet class, new user, servlet. So classes are defined or placed here. New user, servlet dot class. So if I open this, okay, it is a class. Okay, it is a bytecode. So let me open this, which is the source code. So this particular code will be executed when I request for new user login in my URL, right? So this is how the deployment descriptors work. So in the same way, application.xml, it contains mappings for WAR files, jar files, and shared libraries. Application.xml. So when you are deploying application.xml, enterprise application on WebSphere Application Server, you don't have to give the context root, because the context root for the application will already be defined in the application.xml. But when you're deploying a WAR file, you need to provide with the context root in WebSphere. In WebLogic, it is not required. All right. So yes, these are the deployment descriptors. Application.xml defines the modules in an enterprise archive. So what are the modules? Shared libraries, EJB modules, and web modules. Web.xml, it contains servlets, filters, URI, patterns, and servlet classes, everything. And EJB jar.xml, it contains deployments, EJB deployment, metadata. And array.xml, it is a connector deployment. So basically, this is a module, this is a configuration file that is deployed for integrating with external information systems. And apart from these are, Java Enterprise Edition standard descriptors. So what happens if these deployment descriptors are not packaged along with the application? What happens is it will throw error. Your deployment will not work because it is a Java standard that these deployment descriptors should be present in your application. And apart from this, there are WebSphere specific descriptors based on your application type. So ibm-web-bnd. So it binds web modules to WebSphere resources and extensions, WebSphere extensions. Application bindings binds JNDI, security, and ER level, etc. So application extensions, EJB jar binds EJBs to JNDI. So usually how your EJBs will work with the help of JNDI lookup. So we'll understand JNDI when we get to JDBC process Actually, JNDI is a naming directory where your uh, resources, application server and application resources will be registered under this JNDI naming directory for a resource lookup, right? So if there is a request looking for EJB resource, then it gets the resource from the JNDI tree. So EJB jar extensions uh, .xml for WebSphere EJB extensions. So these all deployment descriptors. These are not deployment descriptors. These are WebSphere specific descriptors. All are defined under different directories based on your application type. So this is for web application, and this is for enterprise application. So you can understand here, when it comes to JNDI security, enterprise, and EJBs, then always it is meta INS. So WebSphere looks at these IBM XML files to configure bindings to resources like messaging service, database connectivity, security roles, etc. So if you are using an LDAP or something, then also it can be used. The application -bnd.xml, it will be defined in this XML file. All right. So these are the WebSphere specific descriptors and deployment type. Okay. Simple WAR file. You can deploy standalone servlet or JSP applications, and it can also contain static content. Like it may be like index.jsp or HTML, something like that. And full EAR enterprise applications with EJBs, web modules, and other libraries. And shared libraries used across multiple applications. So these are the deployment types. You can deploy a standalone WAR file, like yesterday we have deployed a sample application. You can also deploy enterprise archive that may contain EJBs, web modules, and other resources. And you can also deploy shared libraries that can be used across multiple applications. So these all can be deployed individually. All right. Now, what is the scope? So when you're deploying an application, you need to mention the scope. If you select the scope node, that represents a physical or a virtual machine. And a node can contain one or more servers, right? So when you select the scope as node, then if the node contains one or more servers, on all the servers, the application will be deployed. If you select cluster as the scope, group of servers for load balancing and HA, then on all the servers that are participating in the cluster will get deployed. I mean, the application will be deployed on all the cluster members. And if you are deploying an application on a single server, that is individual application server, and the application is isolated, right? So when deploying via admin console or wsadmin, you need to choose the target scope, either from the admin console or command line. You need to mention the target, whether it is a node you want to deploy as scope or cluster or server, right? So we have seen deployable unit, different formats, deployment methods, and application formats. and deployment descriptors, Java's standard deployment descriptors, and WebSphere specific descriptors, and the types, different applications as single deployment unit, and at what scope we can deploy each application. Now, in summary, these are the deployment units and the tools you can use. And these are the deployment descriptors, and these are the scope. In these methods you can use, and for automation, you can use wsadmin, Jython, or Python, right? So now let us quickly see what I have done yesterday is, I'll show you. Okay. So wsadmin, it is not like JBoss CLI and WLST, which are very, flexible and easy to understand. And when it comes to wsadmin, it is somewhat uh, complex. But when you get used to it, yes, uh, you can do the deployments and do other activities. So yesterday I have added screenshots with different scenarios, executing WS admin commands on standalone application in command mode or script mode, and we'll understand all these things. Not a problem. I've deployed the application and executing WS admin commands on standalone application server in interactive mode. So there are two modes we will discuss in a while. So this is the enterprise application that is deployed, and application access. There are two WAR files inside it. This is a first WAR file, second WAR file, and context roots. And this is a URI. And if you're deploying the same application on a managed node with a server, you need to execute the WS admin commands from DMGR. So that one, I have done this one. So yeah, let us see step by step how to use WS admin. And later we will also see how to use WS admin to get information, MBean information. Usually WS admin uses MBeans. MBeans means message beans that carry information and status. So all the components inside WebSphere, like servers, node agents, DMGR, and nodes, and other uh, WebSphere resources, they communicate with the help of MBeans, which is a part of JMX connectivity. So what is a JMX? It is Java Messaging Extensions. It is an API and a Java standard, Java standard that is used for connectivity and communication between different components using MBeans, and MBeans use IIOP protocol for message transfer. MBeans contain the status and other data. So WS admin, let us connect to the server. So we have a environment where there is a management profile, managed node, and this is unmanaged node. So all the three. So I'm going to start unmanaged node. Then how to check uh, what are the applications deployed in this particular server. So usually you can check in multiple places. The first one would be under the cell. As this is a standalone profile, you can go to config, cells, cell name. Under the cell name, you will find cell level configuration files. So the main configuration files, resources, security, virtual hosts. And when it comes to configuration file, we cannot prioritize like which one is important. But yes, according as you know, as per my knowledge, resources, security, variables, and virtual hosts. These are the important configuration files. So here you will see applications because the master repository contains all the configuration, right? So this is the EAR application that I have deployed. And these are the sample applications. IVT is installation verification app, and there is some query.er default application, WebSphere WSVM. It is a internal application, and IBM synchronize response.er. So these are default applications. And ISC lite.ear, this is admin console application. So even if you deploy a web application, a WAR file in on an application server, it will add .ear and store it under this location. As this is a standalone profile, it has its own cell, and under cell applications, all the applications will be deployed. So class user root, your yeah, then let us start this server.sh and std underscore server is my server name. Let us see what is a URI. Yes, URI. In web.xml, you might have seen URI patterns, right? So URI pattern is a uniform resource identifier. So there is one more thing, URL. It is uniform resource locator. So this is my uniform resource locator. I am trying to locate this resource, retail and slash loans. And when it reaches my server, it will change to, it will not change actually. The terminology will be resource identifier. Why resource identifier? Because it need to identify the particular resource, URI pattern. So this will be in my URL, and the identifier, with the help of identifier, it will identify respective servlet name and the respective class will be picked up and executed. So this is URI is a unique string used to identify a resource, and URL is used by the client to request a resource across the internet from the server, or you can say application. So this is URL used by the client, but URI, it is used by the server to identify a particular resource. In our case, a web module or EJB module inside an EAR file is a resource. So it is used during deployment to match modules with deployment targets like servers or virtual hosts. Okay, so we will understand this when we deploy. So usually the URI will be like this. This is your web application under enterprise EAR file. And how do you find out the URI? Your application name, deploy the web INF folder, and the deployment descriptor. So in this file, this application will be invoked using hello one context root, right? So whatever comes next to hello one will go to this particular war file. The same way hello two. So this is URI. Yeah, the server is started, and once lost 906 2 or 61. How to check about the profile? So it is 9062. So this is my standalone application server. So there will be only one server, the standalone. There is no uh, adding new servers in this because it is a standalone profile. And under the applications, so these are the default application, IVT and query. These are the sample applications that comes with the profile. And this is the enterprise application that I have deployed. So if you check manage modules, there are two modules inside this application, ER file. This is a ERI, URI, and the module type is web module. And the server location. So this is the target server. So how this is the target server. Server is equal to server name, node is equal to node name, and WebSphere cell is equal to cell name. Okay. So this is how. So the same thing you will use uh, when deploying from the command line. So you will mention the URI, you will mention the server hope, right? And the target server here. So there are two web modules. And to go back, you can check the context root as well. Uh, so here, context root for web module. So for hello world first, hello world second war files, hello one and hello two is the context root. So let us access these two. Nine zero 81 slash hello one. So this is the response. And hello to hello world second. So this is how the application will be accessed. So let us go back and uninstall the application and install again so that we can understand the step-by-step process. Yesterday, we have deployed a web application, and for enterprise application on standalone, it is different. On if you're deploying on a cluster or if you're deploying um, a WARF, an enterprise application, and you want to map the web modules to different servers, you can do it. Like Hello World first application can be deployed on server one, and Hello World second.war can be mapped for with server two. You are distributing the web modules across different, multiple nodes, right? So I cannot directly stop an application. Sorry, I cannot directly uninstall an application. I have to stop it first, then uninstall, right? Now select and uninstall. Application stopped. Okay, save it. Now it is gone. So let us verify the application is gone, right? It is not listed here. So now I can install the same application from my remote file system, std node, parent directory, softwares under hello. So this is my ER file. Okay. Next, I'll select fast path and the application name. You can give whatever the name you want. You can also mention the build number. Like I'll say build. Oh, I cannot edit it. Okay, it is taken by default from the application of it. I can give like here V3 version 3 or version 2. Next. So here mapping the modules to servers. If I have multiple servers here, I can select the application server and the module and apply. And I can select another module and another application apply. So right now it is a standalone. So I have mapped both the modules to the same server. Next, So here, virtual host. So remember the sequence. The first thing is providing the path of your application. Let me add here. So the steps. Number one, provide the application course path. Number two, map the web modules, EJB modules, if available, to servers. Number three, map the virtual host. Uh, if no custom virtual hosts are used, use default host. Number four, context groups. So this is mapping virtual hosts for web modules, right? Uh, just select and next. This is something related to metadata for modules. Metadata complete attribute defines whether the deployment descriptors for this module is complete. So it is about deployment descriptors. So it is complete. Next and finish. So the deployment started, resource validation, application and module versions are validated, uh, which versions of deployment targets. It is configured. Now library references for installed, optional packages are created, the application binaries are saved in this location. Application binaries, right? So this is a WS 10. We'll talk about WS 10 and 10 later. And the application is configured in WebSphere Application Server repository, which is your cell. So finally, activation plan created, cleanup temp directory, application is installed successfully. Save it. So this is for enterprise application. Uh, by default, the context routes will be applied because for EAR, you will not provide the context. It will be defined in the application.xml. If it is a WAR file, then The fourth one, add the context root. And here EJB modules will not be available. Yes. So these are the steps for web application, and these are the steps for enterprise application. Now, let us see. The application is deployed, but initially the application status is stopped. Select it. The application is started. Fine. So this is how you deploy an enterprise application on WebSphere Application Server via admin console. So now talking about wsadmin, it is a scripting tool used for command line configurations or deployments. And it uses Jython or Jackal as scripting languages. So among these two, Jython is most popularly used. Compared to Jackal, Jython is used. So wsadmin, it can be used in two modes. One is interactive and the other one is command mode. So interactive mode, I can connect to my server using wsadmin hyphen language Jython. So now it is connected to the process called STD server on STD node using SOAP connector. So this is a use of SOAP connector. And the type of process is unmanaged process. So, unmanaged node. So if you connect with DMGR, it will say connected with DMGR. So this is interactive. So I'll pass one command, I'll get the response. I'll pass another command, I'll get the response. So this is interactive. And command mode, so without connecting directly to the process, you can pass the commands from here. Okay. I think it is called imperative in other terms. Okay, let me do one thing. Let me uninstall the application. Where is uninstall? Yeah. I can give print app list admin app dot list. So it will give me the deployed applications on this server, right? So I'm passing one command, I'm getting the response. So this is interactive mode. There is, I have kept somewhere. Yeah. So this is command mode actually. I can give admin app uninstall and the application name. So usually I think, okay, I gave V3. One it says application installed successfully. Let me verify here. Uh, I need to save admin config, save. Admin config dot save. See, the application is gone. So this is interactive mode. And command mode, I can pass like okay. This one I can come out and I can pass like this. So I'm requesting what are the application options that are available for this particular application on this location. So I'm asking WebSphere, what are the options I can append in order to deploy this application? Enter. It is connected to the process. Now it gave me a dump of options. It gave me map modules to servers, map web methods to virtual host, map shared libraries, so pre-compile JSPs, get server name. So these all things you can use if you want to write a script. Application name, multiple things. Context root, target, server, cell. So these are all the options. So what I have done here, without getting in interactive communication with wsadmin, I have passed my command, wsadmin command, with the help of -c. So I did not get any interaction with wsadmin. So outside, I asked to connect to my server and use this command, execute this command. So it has done. So now let us stop this, and in the next session, we will understand how wsadmin works and how command mode works and how an EAR application can be deployed. All right.